that movie is just an absolute calamity. But speaking of which, the Barbie movie is upon us, and
Hmm.
this well, we've started to get reviews of it coming out, and wow, because I've said before on Open Bar, right? I had no idea what to expect from this film. I didn't know how like if it was going to make $1 billion or if it was going to absolutely flop because there was really nothing to gauge it against. The trailers just made it seem like a happy clappy sort of kid friendly comedy with like lots of bright colors and stuff. Like there wasn't much given away there, and now it's out and people have had a chance to see it. And I'm hearing bad things about this movie. I know the warning signs were already there from the cast. They started giving interviews in the run up to this movie coming out, and you had absolute intellectual powerhouses like Simu Liu saying this movie's gonna like smash open the gates of gender norms,
Oh,
and
that's
it's
right.
gonna redefine like what it is to be a man and a woman. It's gonna be a hardcore feminist movie, and I thought, well, okay, fine. Like, be interesting to see what they do with this because Barbie, I guess, you would assume it would have to be some kind of feminist movie, and that's fine. Like, it's pro girls. It's pro like you can do whatever you want and be whatever you want. I guess that was the ethos of what Barbie always represented. So it seemed like it was just going to be a fairly easygoing comedy with generic sort of female empowerment stuff in it. And then now that it's out, I've started to hear some stuff that it doesn't sound good. I can give you a brief summary as I understand the plot.
Can I? I mean, you could, but you've also. What's your source on that? Because the plot is on Wikipedia, pretty well summarized in terms of what you get in this film. And from what I've seen of different people posting tweets and all that, I was like, oh, I guess some people are real pissed at this Barbie movie. But I thought we were dealing with a fun movie that takes plastic dolls and puts them into a real world, and you get some wacky scenarios and visuals and jokes. I had no idea we were heading for what, like, to give you an idea, right? This is the opening premise statement of the film, which I seriously, I had no idea this is what we're aiming for, but it says stereotypical Barbie and a wide range of fellow Barbies all reside in Barbie land. It's like, all right, good start. A matriarchal society where all women are self-confident, self-sufficient, and successful, while their Ken counterparts spend the days engaging in recreation activities at the beach. The Barbies hold all important job positions such as doctors, lawyers, and politicians. That's the opening premise.
That is not, yeah, that is correct in terms of what this film presents to you. So
Isn't it? Oh, go on. Sorry.
So Barbie Land is a matriarchal society. So as Muller described there, the Barbies are the ones in charge. The Kens are just kind of looked down on as being a bit silly and like they're not to be taken seriously. They're just something to look at, I suppose. Kind of like, I don't know, this sort of stereotypical view of women in the 1950s or 1940s or something like that. Barbie and Ken then go into the real world, which is a horribly misogynistic place, like stereotypically over the top. Like men are just walking down the street slapping women's asses. Oh, that's the Barbie producers here phoning you saying, "Don't take part in this."
That's the open bar noise to remind you to drink. That's what that is.
But yeah, oh, there we go. But they go into the real world. Ken discovers the patriarchy and says, yeah, I want to be part of this. And so he brings that patriarchal infection back to Barbie Land with him. And the Kens take over. They become like the rulers of Barbie World, with Ken himself as like the leader of them. And the Barbies are subservient to him. And they have to use the power of feminism to overthrow this patriarchal rulership of Barbie World.
If it wasn't
and restore things back to the correct way where women are in charge.
If it wasn't for the last minute of using the power of feminism, the Ken taking over Barbie Land sounds pretty good.
Yeah, I agree.
That's the thing. Like you could absolutely frame this as Barbie being the antagonist of the movie, and Ken's just like this guy who wants equal rights for his oppressed minority there. But you know the funny thing, it ends with the Barbies reasserting control and deciding they're going to restructure their society. And so the question is, well, what's to become of the Kens, because they feel very hard done by in all this. And shall we make things equal? And I kid you not, Barbie says, no, we're not going to make it equal. Not until things are equal in the real world.
What? Oh my god!
So the men in the Barbie world will have equal rights once women in the real world have equal rights.
Ugh.
That's the movie right there.
I thought Oppenheimer was supposed to be the horror.
When I saw that Kate McKinnon was in this, that was my first hearing the Jaws theme music a little bit, that there might be something off. But I actually think the premise is really good if you just done it with a lighter touch. If you had the idea that Barbie has to go through a journey where she becomes less of a bimbo and more of a rounded character, and then Ken goes through a journey where he starts to revel in his power, and then things normalize and stabilize back at the end, that'd be a great story.
Yeah,
but
if you can get to a point where it's like, well,
with it.
yeah, it's like if they both recognize, hey, we've both got things to bring to the table here. We're slightly different, but we've both got strengths and weaknesses. Let's all work together to make a better world. Okay, it's simple and it's cheesy, but okay, it works as a premise. This is like, no, women are just fundamentally better. They deserve to be in power. They might allow you to have a little bit of power if you prove that you're not going to misuse it, or that you're going to be, you'll stay in line. But that's the best you're going to get. And wow, I didn't think this movie was going to be so on the nose.
Really?
I honestly thought it was just going to be this like lighthearted, like this was a piece of marketing genius. The marketing people behind this really understood how to keep the mask on.
Yeah, I think it's going to get us demonetized here.
This is like the opposite of a lot of modern trailers where they throw in like a line and you're like, oh, what the fuck? What's this film going to be about? Then you watch the film and that one line is the only line of that line's kind in the whole thing. And you're like, why'd you put that in the fucking trailer? This seems to be the reverse, where they didn't put any of this in the trailers. I didn't believe this. When people tweeted that this was what the film was about, I was like, yeah, okay, that would be funny. And then people were like, no, that's real. And I was like, how could this be real? Why would they make the story about this?
They must have said to the actors and stuff like, right, shut the fuck up. Don't say anything about the feminist stuff. Just smile and look pretty and stuff. We're gonna do our marketing whiz on this, and we're gonna just spin it as a lighthearted comedy that's not politically tinged at all. And it worked. It really worked, and it fooled so many people leading up to this film because nobody knew what it was going to be about. And now it seems like the mask is off and there's no hiding it now. They obviously have to let people see it for what it is. And wow, I just think if this is as it's described, it's going to be the most divisive, mean-spirited, incendiary movie that you could ask for in a situation like this. And it didn't need to be like that. You could have done something just so much easier and so much nicer for people.
Well, you could tell.
About.
Well, you could tell from you could tell not from the trailer, but from the first headlines that started coming out from the critics, like this is a feminist manifesto, a master's degree. But then when you look at it, you're talking about a product that's been around, what is it? Barbie has been around 50 to 75 years. Instead of catering something specifically to kids, you now have Margot Robbie following that same glide path that most of these actresses do. They start out as sex stars, Wolf of Wall Street, Harley Quinn, and now she's transitioning with the rest of the cast into kind of like the hairy underarm Jane Fonda talking about capitalism. But what is Barbie? I mean, when I was reading about it and looking at it, I was like, this is just a software update for Gen Z. We got to fix a few of these glitches in the operating system. So anytime that they go out to pick up a pint and they use the wrong pronoun, someone could say, hey, get your reality in check. Go watch Barbie. I mean, I don't think this is going to succeed.
I mean, I think it's going to have a massive opening weekend because people have been duped into watching this, and so they will go see it. If it's as divisive as it seems to be, I think it'll fall off a cliff after that. Because
does anyone want to know what the? Sorry.
No, go, man.
I was just going to say, does anyone want to know what the opening weekend projections are for both Barbie and Oppenheimer?
Yeah.
Oppenheimer is 50 million and Barbie is 110.
Yeah.
More than double Oppenheimer.
What world are we living in?
I mean, Chris Nolan knew that was coming. He wouldn't make it R-rated and 3 hours long if he wanted to have mass appeal.
Yeah.
Plus, it's hard to find any theaters. Like, I have to go to San Antonio to see it in the true 70 millimeter because I think there are only 33 of them around. Because he said, if you really want to see it, you have to see it in the 70 millimeter IMAX. It's like,
I've been hearing good things about it.
Yeah, I can't wait.
I mean, yeah, like I know which movie I'd rather watch, but it is tragic to think that like this abomination is gonna like potentially eclipse Oppenheimer. Like, how?
It's kind of jarring because something like this in Barbie, which is kind of high concept and has like this big meta idea, that involves striking a particular register of satire that everyone can kind of buy into, which is kind of sophisticated. But then if you undermine that by having really super heavy-handed messaging that goes in with it, then you disrupt all of that. So it's kind of all over the place.
I don't know why they would think to do that. Like, it's like this movie was made in 2017 or something, like when we hadn't progressed beyond this point of like really like hardcore abrasive mean-spirited sort of feminist messaging that men are shit and women are awesome and they just need to like move aside and make way. Like that has come and gone, and it just feels like such a weird product of a different time if that's the case.
You don't think it fits right in with Disney's like, Indiana Jones and the dial of Indiana Jones cucking Indiana Jones with another co-star?
But look how that movie's done.
Right, but I'm saying it's almost like an invitation to the culture war. That's how I view Barbie. Like, come on in.
I mean, they missed the opportunity to have like what could have been a really fun movie that was just about, because apparently at some point, right, they go from Barbie land to the real world. It's like, oh, that just sounds like a movie that came out in like the late 90s, early 2000s, where all it's just fish out of water humor, and then the Mattel CEO tries to kidnap them because he doesn't want them to be found or whatever, that the real toys are based on that. It's like, you can create loads of fun action and nonsense. The Barbie world thing looks insane, just like as a place. And it's like, if they're all very self-aware and just having fun, it could have been something that I would maybe have seen and tolerated. But
remember, well, I don't know if you've ever saw it, but there was the movie Enchanted, right, that had Amy Adams in it.
That's what I was thinking about.
Yeah, played on the similar idea of like, okay, well, you take a princess out of fantasy land and put her in the real world. Like, how's she going to cope with that? And like, how's it going to gradually like, morph her into a more realistic human being? That's not bad. I mean, it's not exactly complicated, but it's something you can work with. This just seems like, I don't know. It's just an excuse to let the patriarchy in because like, it's everywhere apparently. Like, from what I understand, the film's depiction of the real world is like this. It's the way a fourth wave feminist would view the world.
I will say,
men are just constantly leering after women, like absolutely disrespecting them at every opportunity.
Catcalling.
Exactly, yeah, and it's just it's a hyper exaggerated version of what the actual world is, but that's like how they see it. And so that's the enemy that has to be striven against. That's the infection that gets into this blissful paradise of Barbie world.
So the conclusion of the film is that until in our reality feminism equals parity, you've essentially got a mass amount of Kens who are under a kind of house arrest in perpetuity until that happens.
Well, the Kens revolt apparently at one point in the movie, but then they get kicked back down.
Yeah, because I think
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, they get defeated by the end. But it's funny because like there's a moment in the film apparently where Barbie and Ken have gone into the real world, and someone asks Ken for the time. It's just like, what time is it? And he's so excited because someone's finally asking him for information, and they're going to listen to him. And I thought, that's not an antagonist. That's like an absolutely oppressed like protagonist, trying to get away from the shackles of this horrifying dictatorship that he's been living under.
Yeah, he's discovering his agency.
Right.
Exactly, yeah. Like, why the fuck are we supposed to be rooting for Barbie in all this? Like, he seems like the hero of this story.
Well,
It's
it's
supposed to be respected. Is that so bad? Apparently, it is if you're a fucking man.
Yeah, of course. I mean, there was a line that they said the president Barbie in this film was asked, in the movie, she's asked, what are Kens? Oh, they're just an accessory.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty much the line.
What I wanted to see was fucking middle-aged, overweight, alcoholic recruitment consultant Barbie that's single and like depressed about her life. Yeah, that's the one I wanted to see, but we're never going to see that apparently.
Kathleen Kennedy, Barbie.
Yeah, but she's rich. So
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
It's like the Anita Sarkeesian wet dream, pretty much. It's come true
Seen,
for us.
I've seen a bunch of people making that joke, like, take a shot every time they say patriarchy and you'll die. I'm
No.
very tempted
Yeah.
to test that out. I feel like that would be fun. I might make
sounds
Drinker
like a
do it at some
challenge.
point.
I got a whole bottle of gin just ready to go.
I have a question. So Barbie won't let the Kens go free unless she has like feminism take over the real world. Is she going to go to the Middle East and like just feminize everyone, or how's that going to work?
They'll never talk about that.
Will she do it with guns, or like how oppressive will she be? Will it be like a communist dictatorship, or
They'll get a free pass mysteriously, or they won't exist in this world.
there's only
because we can't-
America?
Yeah, exactly. We can't criticize anyone else.
Bobby Land in America. Makes
But
sense.
yeah, I think when I hear stuff like this, and I think how just really mean-spirited this movie seems, and how like spiteful and aggressive it comes across, I just think this is going to absolutely crater after its first weekend. I think it's going to sucker a lot of people in because there does seem to be genuinely a lot of people who are excited to watch this. I don't know why. I don't know what they're expecting to see here, but there seems to be. Like, maybe it's just like a bunch of middle-aged women who played with Barbie dolls when they were kids and they just want to see this. But yeah, once they realize what it actually is, I would assume it's going to drop off pretty sharply.